Hey guys, it's Mikexingchen. Thanks for watching Beyond Science. I've been doing this show for, I think, over 3 years now, and I still love working on it because, one, I love the topics, and two, because of you guys. You guys who make me feel not so strange for possibly believing that mermaids exist, or maybe the earth is hollow. And because of that, I want to make this channel better and better. And now that I've moved back to New York and kind of settled down in this new studio, I want to bring you guys more interesting topics, just overall better videos. And we've been getting a lot of feedback about the audio quality of the show. That's why in this episode we're gonna try something different. We're gonna use a different audio option, so hopefully you guys will like it. So with that said, let's get on to the video. Here is the story of the real life sword in the stone. So with that said, let's get on to the video, and today we're gonna talk about the story of the real life sword in the stone. The story of King Arthur and the Sword in the Stone is one of the most famous British legends. For centuries, this Arthurian story has been passed down from one generation to another through various literary works of authors and poets. The Sword in the Stone, which some believe to be the same as the world-famous Excalibur, essentially tells the tale of an embedded sword that could only be pulled out from the stone by the one true King of England. The retrieval of the sword was deemed unlikely to be accomplished by any other man until the future King Arthur managed to do the impossible, proving his divine appointment as the king and the true heir of Uther Pendragon. However, the story of a mythical sword stuck in a stone is not entirely unique to the well-known Arthurian legend. In fact, a similar yet lesser-known story can be found in the Italian region of Tuscany, which some experts have suggested to be the real inspiration behind the British legend. This is the Sword in the Stone of Saint Galgano, and unlike King Arthur's Excalibur, an actual 12th century sword believed to be the very same sword that Saint Galgano thrust into the bedrock still exists today. Saint Galgano is considered to be the first saint whose canonization was conducted to a formal process by the Roman Catholic Church. Much of his life is known through the documents from the processing of his canonization in 1185, which is just a few years after his demise. There are also a number of written works by later authors that cover the saint's life. Galgano Guidati was born in 1148 in Chiusdino in the modern province of Siena, Italy. Being the son of a minor noble, he had spent his youth as a wealthy knight, solely concerned with the worldly pleasures that life had to offer. Trained in the art of war, Galgano was both arrogant and violent. However, all of that changed as he later renounced the ideologies of warfare and subsequently chose the path of a hermit. Saint Galgano's path to holiness began with a vision of the Archangel Michael, who incidentally is often depicted as a warrior saint. According to one version of the legend, the Archangel Michael appeared before Saint Galgano and showed him the path to salvation, with the angel providing him directions to the place where he should go to achieve this. On the following day, Saint Galgano declared his intention of becoming a hermit and took up residency in a nearby cave, which was met with ridicule from his family and friends. Dionysia, Galgano's mother, managed to convince her son to pay a visit to his fiancée one last time before he completely renounces all worldly pleasures. And so, wearing his expensive nobleman's clothing, he rode a horse and set out to visit his fiancée. However, on his way there, his horse suddenly reared, throwing him off its back. Right then, Galgano felt an invisible force lift him to his feet, and an irresistible seraphic voice led him to Monte Siepe, a hill nearby his hometown of Chiusdino. When he reached the foot of the hill, the voice bade Galgano to be still and to look up at the top of the hill. There he saw a vision of a round temple with the 12 apostles surrounding Jesus and Mary. The voice instructed him to climb the hill, and while he was doing so, the vision he saw faded. Once he reached the top of the hill, Galgano heard the voice speak again, and this time it commanded him to renounce all his worldly desires. Galgano, however, objected, since the task was easier said than done. He went on to say that to accomplish such a feat was as easy as splitting a rock with a sword. It simply cannot be done. In order to prove his point, Galgano drew his sword and attempted to thrust it into the rocky ground. But to his surprise and amazement, his blade went through the stone as easy as hot knife through butter. Having understood the divine message loud and clear, Galgano permanently resided on the hill as a humble hermit, leading a life in poverty. While he led a simple and humble life, far different from the extravagant lifestyle he once had as a nobleman, Saint Galgano was visited occasionally by peasants looking for his blessing. He also made friends with
with the wild animals he lived with. According to one legend, the devil once sent an assassin in the guise of a monk to kill Galgano. However, the saint managed to survive the ordeal because the wild wolves he was living with attacked the killer and gnawed on his bones. At the young age of 33, Galgano met his demise in 1181 and was canonized 4 years later. His funeral was considered a major event at the time and was attended by bishops and abbots. The following year, the Bishop of Volterra placed Montesiepi under the care of Cistercian monks, knowing that they would erect a shrine in Galgano's memory. They began the construction of a round temple in 1185, and this became known as Cappella di Montesiepi. The chapel is located just above the main abbey and houses the legendary sword of Saint Galgano up to this day. For centuries, the sword in the stone in Montesiepi was widely believed to be a fake, except by the most devout. However, research in the 21st century revealed that based on the composition of its metal as well as its style, the sword is indeed from the 12th century. The sword has a pretty basic design. Its pommel is flat and slightly egg-shaped with a truncated form, while its guard is a straight bar of steel, and its style is typically associated with known weapons of the 12th century. In 2001, a meta-analysis conducted by Luigi Gargascelli of the University of Pavia revealed that the sword is indeed very old, with no clear proof to support the claims that the sword is a recent fake. Ground-penetrating radar analysis also revealed a 2 meter by 1 meter cavity beneath the sword, believed to be a burial recess which possibly contains Saint Galgano's body. Meanwhile, carbon dating confirmed that the two mummified arms housed in the same chapel at Montesiepi were also indeed from the 12th century. This, although kind of grotesque, somewhat supports the legend that anyone who attempts to remove the sword from the stone had their arms ripped from their bodies. Although the recent scientific research and evidence proving that the sword as well as the mummified arms in Cappella di Montesiepi have existed around the 12th century may not be foolproof evidence that the sword in the stone is indeed Saint Galgano's blade, but it does paint a shade of truth to the story. Now let's talk about Saint Galgano's sword versus King Arthur's Excalibur. There are those who argue that the sword in the stone legend of King Arthur did not originate from the Celtic fringes of Britain or France, but in Italy. It is also interesting to note that the first story mentioning King Arthur pulling a sword from an anvil on top of a stone appeared in one of the poems written by 13th century French poet Robert de Born, and that these poems were written several decades after Galgano's canonization by the Roman Church. By that time, word of Saint Galgano's life may have already traveled across Europe, with the legend of King Arthur and his sword likely to have been inspired by the story of the reformed Italian knight. Although the two stories share very similar elements, each convey a different message and fulfills a different purpose. The Arthurian legend of the sword in the stone is a story that displays the might, glory, and the mythical qualities of King Arthur to do the impossible, demonstrated by the unlikely retrieval of a sword. The story of Saint Galgano's sword, on the other hand, speaks of faith, humility, and the path to holiness by doing the opposite, which is thrusting a blade into a rock-solid ground. And although Saint Galgano's story may just be a curious legend much like the story of King Arthur and the Excalibur, its legacy is far from forgotten. The round temple in Montesiepi is still standing and is safe, keeping the sword believed to have belonged to Galgano, as well as the mummified forearms that supposedly belonged to a man who dared to pull out that very same sword. The walls of the Abbey of San Galgano on Montesiepi are still standing tall and has since become a tourist spot for its haunting beauty, history, and architecture, and of course, the legend.
So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. Also, let me know in the comments, assuming the whole King Arthur thing is true, would you rather be King Arthur, who pulled a sword from the stone and became a legendary ruler, or would you rather be Saint Galgano and put the sword into the stone, lived a very simple hermit lifestyle, and then eventually became a saint? For me, I think I would choose Galgano's route. I mean, yeah, he did give up everything, his fiance, his worldly possessions. He was a rich playboy knight dude, and he gave all that up to become a hermit, but it did really seem like he was at peace. And also, I really respect people who can give up maybe something that many of us would consider really hard to give up. So in Galgano's example, riches, fame probably, and to give all that up and pursue something you really feel strongly about, regardless of how much ridicule is bestowed upon you by your family and friends. So I really respect that, and I think that would be my choice as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Hope you liked it. See you later.